Dials, but also John Holmes. In other words, he wasn't held at gunpoint through this whole thing, but he actually took part.
Mm-hmm.
So he was an active contributor in the assault and killing of 4 people and the brain damage of a 5th.
Yeah, if I'd been Holmes, it would be kind of an attractive thing to do. Maybe not attractive, but it would be tempting.
Oh yes,
to go to Nash and say, "Hey, I heard you got robbed, and I got to say I'm really sorry about this, but I know these people over here, and I told them about you and your hidden safe and everything. I really feel bad. I think it might have been them." And so they could have been that.
I don't even think you'd have to go that far. I think you could just say, hey, I think I know who did it because they just gave me this ring. Does this look familiar?
Yeah, you could do that too.
Then you don't have any kind of personal connection to the original.
Yeah, you just say something like, hey, these guys were asking me questions about you and stuff like this, and it's.
I guess.
There's all sorts of ways he could have actually played that and gotten them murdered.
The hard part about both of these theories is that as we talked about Scott Thorson, his version of that night didn't come out for almost 10 years. After he cleaned up, he one day recalled this and started telling people about it. Years later, Nash and Dials would start recounting versions of this, but those guys were still in the drug business, and it would behoove them to tell this story about how they had brutally murdered 4 people in a house for screwing them over on a drug deal.
Well, it's actually a good thing to let people know let the world know that you are not to be screwed with.
Yeah,
if you live in that world.
Because if you show weakness in that kind of environment, then everybody comes to feed upon you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exactly why he would tell everybody, we showed up and we beat the holy hell. Always did it in these weird passing ways. They were smart enough to not say, we killed those people. But, there was this time we went to this house out in Laurel Canyon and some stuff happened. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you should treat us right. Yeah, okay, bye.
Probably a good idea.
Okay. Let's move on to theory number 3, which now this is one of those theories where we're going to take a complete and total turn away from the official version. We now have a completely different theory. And that theory is that there's a guy named Paul Kelly, and he did it as a hit based on a bad drug deal.
Yeah. For funsies.
Funsies, for the lulz.
Well, I gotta
say, the ruffles.
These people seems to me there were probably plenty of people out there that wanted to kill them.
Absolutely.
I mean, even though Eddie Nash and Dials are the prime suspects, I think there's lots of other potential suspects.
Well, and that's exactly, it may be possible they were in no way involved in the murders. If you remember in the beginning of this story, or my description of the Wonderland Gang, we were talking about the fact that they made part of their money from robbing other drug dealers.
Oh, yeah.
Well, apparently they would also rip them off in bad drug deals. Not too long before the murders, the gang had sold what they said was a pound of heroin to another drug dealer for $250,000.
That is so much heroin.
And it turned out to be baking soda.
Well, no, they cut it. It just turns out the cut was like 100%. Yeah.
So this dealer, he buys $250,000 worth of drugs just to find out that they are completely and totally fake, and in his fury turns around and does, not surprisingly, what a lot of people would do. He puts a hit out on them.
I can't really blame him.
No, he puts out a contract and he says, it's never said how much the contract is worth.
Right. I'm just laughing because that's always like that train of thought to me is like so weird, where it's like, wow, I just lost $250,000. Better spend $250,000 more to kill these people at no chance of ever recouping my costs.
I'm frantically shaking my head.
I see that.
You gotta send a message, dude.
No. It's not $250K for the hit. I'll pay $3,000 a head.
Whatever. Whatever it is. But it's
just like with Nash. If you screw me, and I'm willing to pay another $3,000 per head, and so I just paid $15,000, but you're whacked, and I'm still alive, nobody else is gonna mess with me.
Okay, I recognize that's why we took the break, is because we had to find the replacement Joe. But I'm just saying, it doesn't make sense to me, Steve. I don't understand like why somebody would be like, wow, I just got screwed all of this money. I know, I'll spend a bunch more money to get this back instead of going back
Logical thought.
trying to steal from them
Logic.
or trying to get it back. Yeah.
Drugs and logic do not mix.
I don't. Drug dealers and logic sometimes mix.
Rarely.
Well, sometimes.
Only in certain elections. But
Yeah, you gotta look at it this way too. Is that these people have ripped you off and disrespected you, and it's definitely for a lot of people would be worth the extra money to kill them.
I do
Or at
like
least
the No Joe, the new
teach them.
one.
Yeah, the new. Oh yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, that's how.
well, yeah, this is the better clone than the last one.
Better.
Oh,
Okay, well, and that's all. That all makes sense. So according to this theory, there is a guy out there whose name was Paul Kelly. And by the way, I tried to find Paul Kelly, information on this Paul Kelly.
oh, for Christ's sake, a name like Paul Kelly.
I know. I couldn't find any reporting on him, but according to this theory, this guy took the contract. It turns out he must have been, one of the bajillion LA drug dealers at the time in that giant pond of cocaine fish. But I couldn't find anything, but according to the theory is that he went ahead and he took the contract and he executed it and he swooped in and he got the 7 pounds of flesh that this $250,000 ripoff dealer wanted. Now, I know that people are going to be screaming at their computers or iPhones or whatever saying, but Steve, the problem is that doesn't explain John Holmes's palm print. Except,
Well, not yeah.
if we move into the next theory, it maybe kind of does. Because let's go ahead and let's say that both sets of theories that we talked about so far are sort of right. In other words, the whole Kelly part of it happened first. So Paul Kelly shows up. He kills everybody. In the meantime, Holmes has been picked up by Dials and got the holy crap beat out of him by Dials and Nash. And Holmes finally gives in and says, fine, it's the Wonderland gang. Here's their house. But by the time Dials and Holmes and the other two guys get there, Paul Kelly has come and gone and done his deed, at which point Dials is saying, oh hell, I gotta find my boss's product, I gotta find my boss's money and his stuff, and Dials could be the one that is responsible for turning the place completely upside down.
Totally.
Absolutely could be that it was both sets happened at the same time.
It's entirely possible. I could see where you could you could make kind of a Guy Ritchie movie out of this. You know? You know what I'm
totally.
saying?
Different timelines.
You could actually.
all synced up.
I would like to see Guy Ritchie tackle the Wonderland murders.
I think the Tarantino of this is probably more apt.
that would work too.
Realistically,
Oh, that would be that. The blood level in that would
it's
be
probably accurate.
It'd probably be the most accurate
Yeah.
Tarantino
That's true.
movie
Guy
ever.
Ritchie doesn't really go for the gritty blood.
But I could see the Guy Ritchie split timeline. Everything mates up.
Oh,
What the
yeah.
hell? Oh, whoa! Holy crap! Mind bender. Yeah,
Yeah.
good call.
Yeah.
This is like 4 Rooms to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have one more theory, by the way.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah, we're not done.
Yeah.
There's one more theory, which I admit I made this last one we talked about up in my own mind, and I'm going to make this that if indeed the Wonderland gang had knocked over Nash and they had taken all of his stuff, they needed to move a lot of stuff. They needed to move drugs, they needed to move jewelry, they needed to move guns, they needed to get rid of it all. So they're going to be putting out feelers, which causes a lot of chatter. And, the people who are in those areas are like, oh, that's crazy. This house, the guys from this house just asked me about getting rid of all of these jewels. That's weird. They just asked me about getting rid of all these guns. That's
pounds and
crazy. They
pounds of
just wanted to
heroin.
get rid of a whole bunch of Quaaludes.
Yeah, and so they really, when people come to realize that you got a pile of cash and drugs and stuff.
Yeah, you're not clever about it now. Deal with one thing at a time.
No,
you start asking all. I want to get rid of it all, just as fast as possible, as much money. And by the way, we got money. We can make change for $100,000. No big deal.
Yeah. Although
that's gonna draw attention. The flies are gonna start coming in.
Yeah, now it's time to come in and take all that. Although I tend to kind of think that somebody would have come in with just some guys and some guns and just robbed them rather than beating them to death with pipes. More likely. That's why I don't really like this one.
Well, the thing is, though, so everybody in that house, they were heroin addicts. And the thing about heroin addicts is that when they get high, they're not active, they're very inactive.
Oh yeah.
So you think, I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna hold these people up, I'm gonna just tie them up and stick them in a corner, and we're gonna monitor them while we look through the house to try to find stuff. Or, hey, how convenient. They are all so passed out, they have no idea we're here, and we can take a bunch of time to roust them up and get them together, or I could just club the holy crap out of them and be done with it.
Actually, there's an interesting thing, and that is if you watch TV in the movies, there's this whole idea that you can conk somebody in the head and just knock them out. And what happens is you hit them on the head, you either piss them off, or you maybe knock them out, or you kill them. It's and more likely you're going to kill them or piss them off.
But the level of the beatings that these people were given,
it was pretty savage.
This wasn't I'm going to bunk. They're all passed out. Yay!
Yeah.
No, this was, I would like to see the inside of your skull, each and every one of you.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can.
Well, here's the unfortunate truth is that if you're 5 feet away from another house and they're used to hearing kind of drug-fueled parties, if they hear gunfire, they're probably still going to call the cops.
Oh yeah, maybe.
But if you beat some people to death, I'm really sorry, but if you beat some people to death,
and one of them
even
happens to
if
scream,
one of them is screaming, the neighbors aren't going to call the cops.
Yeah. I'm just saying that if you hold them at gunpoint and tie them up and tell them to keep shut up or they're going to get killed,
I don't know.
It just makes more sense to me to do it that way.
I mean, it makes
people.
more sense, but I also don't.
That's a lot more work.
I think that, but the reason I think is robbery is one thing, but these were savage murders. It was not like there was a revenge factor here.
There's also, there's the total possibility that this was a long-term back and forth, right?
That we don't know about.
The Wonderland gang had been robbing people. And as far as we know, they had been getting robbed back, and it had been this back and forth kind of thing. And that finally this was the kind of culmination of that, where people were like, I am so freaking fed up.
And
holding these people at gunpoint.
This
they
was
just
the
keep
money
coming
shot.
back. I'm just like, whatever. I'm just going to, I'm going to take a pipe to their head. And
there were lots of people who had a motive.
Particularly, I've never been so high on drugs that I've thought this is violence is a good idea, but that's not also not.
But that's a long spiral.
Oh, it totally
for most people.
And
at least.
to say this will put an end to that. Maybe that's what was happening. Maybe, or maybe even they hit them over the head once and they were like, haha.
And I'm more inclined to believe one of the latter theories, these last two theories. I mean, like we said, the LAPD's theory and the first couple of theories, those are the most popular. John Holmes' first wife, he was married multiple times, but his first wife came out years later and wrote an autobiography in which she at that point talks about the fact that how somewhere between the day of to 2 days after the Wonderland murders, John showed up at her house covered in blood, and she put him in a hot tub to clean him, a bathtub of hot water, not a hot tub, a tub of hot water to clean him, at which point he was freaking out. She said, tell me what's going on, and he recounted some of what had happened. But a lot of people who know Holmes have also said that her book is a lot of fiction. I mean, there's
it's hard for
anything
me.
that comes out of the mouth of John Holmes, I have a problem
Yeah,
with.
he told
Yeah.
lies constantly. It's his autobiography. He didn't write a book, but he told stories about his past, and it was just all lies. I mean,
Total fiction.
The guy was a total skis.
I guess, for me, there may be some middle ground of, he wasn't this kind of Hollywood hero where he was like, I'm going to tell these guys to get revenge. I guess that's not a hero, right? Anti-hero, whatever.
Yeah, that's definitely not the hero.
And then he came in and helped. But there's also that possibility of, he told these guys, hey, these are the people who ripped you off. And they were like, cool. And you helped him? And he was like, well, no. And they were like, but you obviously helped him. And he was like, no, I didn't. And they were like, no, you did. And took him with them to witness this thing. And he was probably pretty traumatized by that.
Could have
And,
been.
coming down from drugs and, seeing all of these different horrific things. And he could have been really traumatized and almost a victim. Almost, right? There's some culpability issues there. There's some, really gut instinct, he was responsible for this. But at the same time... But you know what I'm saying?
I get where you're
Okay.
coming from. My problem with making that kind of statement involving John Holmes is that he quite obviously didn't give a rat's ass about anybody else's life but his own. Because, how Holmes died.
Sure.
Is he had AIDS, and
Yeah.
the complications from that killed him. When he was still in the business and didn't stop performing, he didn't tell anybody.
Now, the word got out in L.A., so he just went to Europe.
Yeah,
Right.
so
And made
he
movies
didn't,
in
he
Europe.
didn't care about anybody else's life, which is
But there
why
is
I
a
have
difference.
a problem with him being so traumatized by seeing other people die, because he apparently didn't care.
Okay, but let's be really, really honest here for a second. There is a huge difference between being responsible from somebody dying for AIDS or maybe contracting AIDS or HIV to seeing someone beat to death with a pipe
Yeah, I
in
have to
front
agree
of
with
you.
that, yeah.
That's a
But-
huge difference.
But
I will agree with that, but my point is, he obviously had no remorse.
Right, and I'm not saying that he had some kind of remorse. I'm saying
I know
that,
you're not defending
he could have
Holmes.
been he could have been trying to play this both sides of the aisle sort of thing, and it backfired on him. And they're like, "All right, well, you're gonna watch this thing that you're responsible for," and he had to watch
Or
it.
he
and
had
was
no
like,
idea
"Oh my
what was going to happen.
God.
And it happened.
Well, I mean,
No, they're-
and he watched that, and that's traumatic, no matter what. I don't think there's a human in this world who. You know,
there are, believe me.
I'm sure, you get used to it, but for your first time,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a human in this world who the first time they see that happen is like, oh God, what?
Yeah, that'd
Right?
be a
And
shocker,
so I
but,
think
yeah.
there's some middle ground there in terms of he could be totally responsible for both things, but still be really traumatized and trying to kind of cover himself.
Yeah.
You know?
It's possible.
Okay.
I'm not
But
gonna
I
say-
don't want
I'm
to
not gonna
defend
say you're
him because
wrong.
I think he's a total skis.
I know.
Here's
I
the
know.
key.
So-
Okay,
We-
guys,
we've
it's
belabored
time,
the-
it's time for me to solve the mystery.
Okay.
I know who did it.
Oh, you do?
It was
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah, no, and it wasn't Choopy. No, it was. I mean, this was an upscale.
Was this
expensive.
Nessie when Nessie was on coke?
Yeah, Nessie, I know.
He needed 350.
Yeah. But it was an upscale, very nice neighborhood, and they were bringing down the property values.
Neighborhood Association
I
did
think
it?
it was the neighbors. But I mean, seriously, if I was living in a nice, expensive house like that, and I was really tight, close to them and everything, and listening to this crap all 24 hours a day, I would seriously consider murdering them myself. I really would.
While I enjoy that thought, I also think that these were some scary people,
Yeah.
and that you would very quickly say, I could just see, I can see myself in my neighborhood. There's been a time or two that I have rushed out my door like, I am going to take care of this. Whoa. Hi, crazy town. I'm sorry. I was just coming out to get the mail. I'm going to go back in my house now.
Yeah. Well, but
No,
there's
can
always,
be
there's always a possibility it was the neighbors, I think. I don't think we should totally discount that.
Nope.
Yeah.
Well, if you have theories on this, you are more than welcome to share them with us. The place that you cannot share them is our website, but you can check out our research about this episode on our website. You can obviously listen to this episode or any of our past episodes there as well. On the website, you will see the links on the right-hand side for merch or for supporting the show. All of that is right there. So merch is going to be shirts or coffee mugs or phone cases. We've added some new stuff there as time goes on.
We're going to add John Holmes dolls.
No, we are not going to add big dolls. We are not going to be doing that.
Okay, fine.
If you want to support the show, there is those options, which are, like I said, there is the merchandise. There is going to be PayPal, so if you'd like to do a one-time donation to the show, you are more than welcome to do it there. Or if you'd like to do a recurring donation to the show or support of the show, that would be done through Patreon. The address for that is patreon.com/thinkingsideways, where you can pledge a certain amount per episode. So be aware, though, it is per episode. So if you want to do $1, that's $1 every